In 1973, the movie The Exorcist started a genre of horror movies that continues to this very day. And while these movies are certainly terrifying, they don't compare to what really happened during a well-documented series of exorcisms at a small convent in rural Iowa in 1928. In 2022, I visited what remains of this convent and experienced weird feelings and unexplained anomalies with my camera as I was filming. It's time to revisit the blood-chilling story of the exorcisms in Earling, Iowa. My wife really doesn't want me to do this video, and to be honest, I have some misgivings about it myself. But I'm already here, so let's go. I'm Jeff, and I'm in Earling, Iowa, and this is where one of the most well-documented cases of exorcism in history took place. Now, call me superstitious, call me crazy, but I just don't like messing with this kind of stuff. So let me make one thing clear. The woman's name was Emma Schmidt. However, she was given a pseudonym of Anna Eklund to help protect her identity, help protect her privacy. Now, to further complicate things, her real name could have been Hulda Emma Schmidt, and in some publications she was also known as Mary X. So, Mary, Hulda, Anna, and Emma are all the same person. For the sake of consistency, I'm just going to refer to her as Emma. It all happened right here just about 100 years ago in 1928. In fact, this exorcism was one of the inspirations for the book The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. If you've read the book or seen the movie, you'll recognize some of the things that reportedly happened here. Hey, if you could like this video, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed to Backroads Tourist already, please consider doing that. Most of the features I do on this channel are a little bit more lighthearted than this, but it is October. I wanted to do some kind of spooky content for you this month. The information I'm about to give you is from a pamphlet called Begone Satan that was published in 1935 by Reverend Karl Vogel and translated from German by Reverend Celestine Kapsner. I'm including a link to the manuscript in the description below, so you can take a look at it for yourself if you'd like. All right, here's the backstory. Emma was born in 1882. Her father was having an affair with Emma's Aunt Mina. Now, Mina was rumored to be a local witch. It's also said that she murdered 4 of her own children. They lived in the Milwaukee area. Emma's father was a horrible person. When Emma's mother passed away, he and Mina wanted Emma to join them, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. When Emma refused, he and Mina reportedly put a curse on her. So we're going to fast forward ahead to August 17th of 1928. Emma is in her mid-40s, and she's been experiencing some strange behavior for several years. She's been to doctor after doctor after doctor. They've determined there's nothing wrong physically, there's nothing wrong mentally. And the conclusion is she may very well indeed be possessed by evil entities. So she goes to a convent in Earling, Iowa to undergo an exorcism by Father Resinger. I may be mispronouncing his name, and if I am, I do apologize. So why Earling, Iowa? Well, Earling was and still is a very rural area. Not a lot of people around. Father Resinger really wanted to keep Emma's identity a secret, so Earling was perfect. Plus, they had a convent right next to the church. The convent would be a perfect place to hold the exorcisms in private. The convent was torn down several years ago, but I'm standing on the ground where it once stood. In fact, right here, you see remnants of a building. This may very well have been the convent. When Emma was brought to the convent, she could easily tell if the food had been blessed or sprinkled with holy water. If it had been, she would fly into a rage, hiss like a cat, and growl. The first exorcism started the next day on August 18th, and it's reported that even though Emma was held to the bed by several people, she broke free, levitated, flew across the room, and clung to the wall above the door. The session went from August 18th to August 26th. Coincidentally, I'm recording this on August 24th. It was 94 years ago today that the first exorcism was taking place right where I'm standing. The second session went from September 13th to September 20th. The final session went from December 15th to December 23rd. One of the biggest questions in my mind is why there was such a big gap between the exorcisms. Between the first and second one, there was almost 3 weeks. Between the second and third one, there was almost 3 months. In Begone Satan, it doesn't really address this question. However, I'm thinking that perhaps the activity kind of settled down a bit, and Father Resinger didn't see any benefit in continuing the exorcism if nothing was happening. I don't know, but that's a possibility. According to the pamphlet, here are some of the things that happened during the exorcism. Emma refused to eat except for water and a little milk. According to the text, only about a teaspoon of liquid per day. Despite that, she vomited frequently, 20 to 30 times per day. Sometimes there was so much that it would fill a bucket. Once her vomit looked like it had macaroni in it. Another time, it looked like there were traces of tobacco leaves. Her head, lips, and face swelled and her body contorted. She spoke in different voices and multiple languages that were unknown to her. If asked a question in Latin or German, she would respond in that language. It's also noticed that when she, or more accurately, the demons responded, Emma's lips didn't move. The voices just emanated from her mouth. Here's a description taken directly from the text of Begone Satan. The woman's face became so distorted that no one could recognize her features. Then, too, her whole body became so horribly disfigured that the regular contour of her body vanished. Her pale, death-like, and emaciated head, often assuming the size of an inverted water pitcher, became as red as glowing embers. Her eyes protruded out of their sockets. Her lips swelled up to proportions equaling the size of hands. And her thin, emaciated body was bloated to such enormous size that the pastor and some of the sisters drew back out of fright, thinking that the woman would be torn to pieces and burst asunder. At times, her abdominal region and extremities became as hard as iron and stone. In such instances, the weight of her body pressed into the iron bedstead so that the iron rods of the bed bent to the floor. She was so loud, wild, and violent that many nuns asked to be transferred to another convent. It is believed that Emma was possessed by Beelzebub, Judas, her father Jacob, her aunt Mina, and several minor demons. So here's a side story. Father Steiger was the pastor of St. Joseph Church at the time. He worked alongside with Father Resinger during the exorcisms. Well, one day, Father Steiger got a call from a parishioner saying that their mother was not doing very well, asking if Father Steiger could come to their farm and administer the last rites. Of course he would. So he got in his car and he was driving to the farm, and according to Father Steiger, a dark cloud descended over the road, blinding him. He couldn't see a thing, and he drove into the side railing of a bridge. The car was demolished. However, Father Steiger only suffered minor injuries. Well, after that, he went to the convent and he walked into the room where the exorcism was being held, and a voice from inside Emma started laughing and then talking to him about the accident. The thing is, no one else in the room had even heard that the accident had happened. Because of the loud noises, screams, and animal sounds Emma had been making for months, it was common knowledge in the community that there was something going on at the convent. Towards the end of the exorcism, Father Steiger asked his parishioners to unite in prayer, penance, and fasting. And they did. They came to the church in large numbers from early in the morning until late at night to pray for Emma. At about 9 p.m. on December 23rd, the final day of the exorcism, Father Resinger commanded the demons to return to hell. Emma broke from the grip of the people holding her down and stood on the bed. Only her heels were touching the bed, and she appeared to be rising to the ceiling. Then she collapsed on the bed and started yelling, Beelzebub, Judas, Jacob, Mina, over and over and over. Then she added on, hell, hell, hell. Then she opened her eyes and said, my Jesus, mercy, praised be Jesus Christ. After a combined 23 days of exorcism, it was finally over. Emma continued to have minor possessions, but they were manageable, whatever that may mean. In 1936, there was a story on this case in Time magazine, but other than that, the story has had a pretty low profile. There are no roadside markers, no signs, no tours, no t-shirts. So what do you think? Was Emma just suffering from mental problems? Are there mental problems that can cause a woman in her mid-40s to levitate, float across the room, hang off of a wall, purge 20 to 30 times a day? Or did Beelzebub really possess Emma, then hitch a ride to this small town in western Iowa? I'd like to thank Father Andrew, the current pastor of St. Joseph Church, for talking with me and shedding some light on this incident. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jeff, and I'll see you on the back roads.